Hello Yogitha, how are you?
Hi Dev, I'm good. How are you?
Yogitha, first things first, you asked me how are you, I forgot. I'm very good, thanks for asking. But at the same time, I want to understand the meaning behind your name. It's very uncommon
Yogitha.
for me. I never heard a girl's name as Yogitha. There must be. But what is your name mean? What does your name mean and how did you get this name?
It's pretty simple. It means purity. And I don't know the reason why they gave me
You
that.
never asked your mom, why did you name me Yogitha?
No, they just said you had to be named with Y.
Okay.
And they had other options,
Yeah,
I guess.
okay.
But Yamini, etc.
Right.
The general names, but they came up with this. I never really asked much about it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
No, nice name, Yogitha. It's like very
Thank
different.
you.
But I'm sure your roll number would be like at the end.
In the end.
Right.
Yeah.
So how is cheating for you? Like, did you ever cheat?
No, like I studied in Chirek.
Okay.
So when it
We are
came
talking
to...
about cheating in exams, by the way. Yeah, I don't know. People would take it in a
cheating?
different way. Yeah.
Oh, I've managed. I hope my mom doesn't watch this, but
Okay.
I managed to cheat, but not always, you know. I've always, while growing up, I've always been this obedient student who did well in her exams. So I did not quite cheat a lot. So
Right.
it was easy. Plus, the seating arrangement for us at Chirek was never like according to our roll numbers and all. It was
random.
always very jumbled. Sometimes you sit in the front, sometimes in the back. So
Right.
Yeah.
How were your friends back then in Chirek?
friends were amazing. I mean, I've had a couple of bad experiences back in Chirek. We'll probably get into it going further, but it was good, you know. The school, the curriculum, the teachers were very friendly,
Right.
and it was lovely. I loved my school. I loved my friends back then.
Do you feel nostalgic now that you are, gracefully aged? Do you feel nostalgic going back to school? You do?
Yes. I do keep going back to school sometimes. Like my siblings have managed to get their, seats in Chirek as well. So whenever they have any parent-teacher meeting, etc., I try, slipping in and just go around, take a look. So it has always been nostalgic.
Tell me the whole idea of nostalgia. Like, I don't get it. I don't know. I don't get nostalgia.
You don't?
No, I don't. So I just want to understand, like, how does it feel? Like, what exactly is that?
I think it comes from a place where you just want to go back in time and experience everything again because you miss being there.
Okay.
I think that is how it is, if I'm not wrong. Because whenever I went to school, I start remembering those little things that I did, my classroom, probably, these playgrounds, wherever we used to have fun. There's that feeling of always wanting to go back and do those things again, just being playful, or at least when you go back in time, you always feel, like you were so, yeah, like you were much more peaceful, you were just playful. You just want to go back in time and experience all of that again. So I think that is where
I think that is it like a form of reflection as well for what kind of journey you have had from where to where.
Yes, absolutely.
Right.
Sometimes you would want to go back in time, and in some instance you really don't want to because you've come so far and you wouldn't want to do it again.
Right. Perfect. I mean, I think for me it doesn't happen because I'm a very forgetful person.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm a very forgetful person, and people complain. My best friends complain. There's this wonderful lady. She always complains about me. Like, I always forget things. She tells me something for like just 2 minutes before, and I would forget it again.
I mean, even I am a very forgetful person, but I'm sure you must have had good memories in the past, which you would want to relive again. Probably that trip that you must have taken with your friends or something. So maybe. In such instances, you might feel nostalgic.
Right. Amazing.
Yeah.
So tell me, since you have mentioned about nostalgia, tell me one of the most beautiful memories that you have had from your childhood.
From childhood, again, because I'm very forgetful, I don't think I'll go.
I can understand.
Very early.
I can understand. I can relate.
Yeah, but the instant you asked me this question, I went back in time to my 25th birthday.
Okay.
So I celebrated my 25th birthday on a yacht that was hosted by my sister and a very close friend of mine.
Okay.
So it was a surprise party, and 25 close friends have come down for me to Goa. It was a lovely trip. We were there for like 5 days. So whenever I remember that, I feel nostalgic. Or maybe whenever I take another trip to Goa, those places.
Where did you go? The north or the south?
So it's usually the north first, and I end up going to the south because when you want to party, you go to the north, and when you want to, cool down at peace, just the beaches, then you go down.
I think Goa, in a way, it also teaches you how to live.
Always.
Because in your initial life, you are all about, ambiguity, you're all about confusion, you're all about having fun, party, chaos, and then once you're done with all of that, you, without any irrevocably, you would directly go to your past, right? Not past, to a place wherein you can find peace and solace. So I think going to Goa has happened to me like that. But the worst thing is I don't booze myself, or I don't drink, I don't smoke. So when I went to North Goa, I felt I'm the alien there. I literally felt I'm the alien.
Got it.
And I don't know, I did not have fun. I've heard so much about Goa. I've been hearing as well, even now that you're speaking. But when I went back then in my time, I did not feel like, it was my place. But then South Goa, of course.
South Goa must be your place for sure.
I walked for like hours together in the streets. It's very lovely, and people are actually very lovely there. You get to see. But then there are lots of scamsters as well in North Goa.
It's
in
all North
about,
especially.
In North only. I did not find it in South. There might be, but in North it's very scammy. It's very, very, very scammy.
Oh yeah, it is very prevalent. I can balance both. I think I'm a balance of both because I am a beach person and I love socializing as well. I like going to those parties and meeting new people. So I think I can do both, and I love music and dancing to music. I think it's therapy for me to just let loose and dance to those beats. So that is one reason why I can say I'm both, and I'm a beach person, so I know how to end that trip really well on a positive note.
Understood. I'm a beach person, I'm a mountain person as well. But then since you have mentioned about what kind of personality you have now, you are very easy to meet people, you can talk to them, you can socialize, and there are lots of things that you're doing, amazing thing. You are listening to music and you're dancing as well, which I can't somehow. But then you just also mentioned in your childhood you were a very obedient, silent kid who used to study, and you're very that kind of person. So I want to understand, how did that happen to you? Like from that Yogitha to this Yogitha, what happened?
I think my school did that to me, and the kind of friends that I had. Initially, I was very insecure as a kid because so I used to play tennis as a kid. I used to play professional tennis, and my schedule used to be very different from the regular kids or my friends. So I used to wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. I used to get ready, go to my academy, start training for like an hour and a half.
What training?
This is general, jogging and physical training. Yeah, physical training.
In school?
And then, no, in my academy, I played tennis. As a child, I played a lot of tournaments. I played for the district and the state as well. So I used to train really hard as a kid.
It's getting very hard for me to think what kind of title should I put for this podcast. Like, you're doing everything, you're like everywhere and doing everything.
I'll probably suggest one by the end of it. So coming to tennis. So my day used to start really early. I used to wake up at 4, go do my training for 1.5 hours, and then again tennis training for an hour. Quickly go to the changing room, change my clothes to my uniform, and then go to school. Again by 3:30, not like regular kids, I can't get into the bus because my mom is there already at the gate to pick me up, and again I change in the car into my tennis clothes and I go play again. Again, I play for 2 more hours. I take a break for 1 hour to just catch up with my homework, do some revision and all of that, and again I take training for another hour in the night. So I train until 9 p.m. I go home, I sleep. That's how I end my day, and I start early. So this used to be my schedule, nothing else. So because it was like that, I had no friends. I had no friends, and naturally, because I was a tennis player playing day and night, it tans your skin. So I was a very tan. I had very dark complexion back then. So I used to be, called out for that. There was a lot of racism, and being kids, all these tantrums, teasing and all of that. So I used to be teased around for that. So obviously, as a kid, I went through a lot. Because of that, a lot of insecurities developed in me. I was perfectly in shape. I was the most fit, student in class. But coming to complexion and all of this, I was definitely put away, and I used to feel lonely, insecure. I think that is where I took it as a challenge. I mean, that was one reason why I left tennis. Also being I got injured, but
you did.
Sorry?
You did get injured?
Yeah, I did get injured. That is one reason for me discontinuing tennis, and also this. Because as a kid, I don't want to be seen as this, not so pretty girl.
Right.
Everybody wants to be pretty back then.
Right.
So I did quit because of that as well. I think from there, I quit tennis. I started, socializing. I think at that point, I was forcing myself to socialize because I did not want
peer pressure, right?
Peer pressure, exactly. Right. But eventually, I think once I found my kind of people, my kind of tribe, or the group, I think I got comfortable. And then since then, I was always that happy-go-lucky girl, the fun girl in the group. I think dhire se I found that
right. We would have been best friends because back then when you were doing so many things, I was building sand castles. I was into like sand castles and all of it. I was not studious, but I was a genius back then. So no, I used to do really well at studies, and then people used to get very confused looking at me. I mean, someone like me who would not talk to anyone, just do his work and just leave, and then people wouldn't even know that I'm studying. I wouldn't show it to people that I'm studying and all of that. But then we would have been great friends for sure, because I think you are someone who would do lots of things at the same time, and I was someone who would like do one thing at a time, like very slow, like a small snail, like it's in its own world and kind of a person. But then coming to schooling, I believe it's for education. Right. But at the same time, I believe whoever has invented the whole system of education and whoever thought let's make a school where all the children can come together and study, because it's been done from like ages and ages. Even in the mythology, it's there. Like people used to come and study together.
Correct.
I believe education was basically formed not just to educate you in terms of the subjects, not like science, biology, or etc., not social. It was more about you knowing that there are lots of people around you who are completely different than you.
Correct.
I think it was the only sole concept of a school wherein people can come in, they can sit and they can see that there is someone who's slightly darker, someone who's slightly fairer, someone who can be called as beautiful, someone who might be called as ugly. And there are lots of name things that we can actually see in different people in different classes. And in every class, I'm sure 40 to 50 people, they're all different, and you would know somehow that they're all different and yet they're very beautiful. I think schools are missing out on this. They think that it is a place right now. Schools, all the higher authorities, other than not all the schools, but few schools, I think they've forgotten the meaning of a school.
Yeah, they have.
For them, it's more about education of studies when it comes to subjects, but it's not that. The foremost and the most important part of a school is to actually help the student understand that there's diversity. That there is things, there are people beyond you.
Absolutely.
Right? You can't be the only person, you can't be the whole center of the universe. There are lots of people, you got to respect them as much as you respect yourself. And back then schools, because I was also not that very old though, so since I was in the school as well, I can understand where you're coming from. I've myself seen people getting bullied, on different aspects of it. And I guess if school can actually understand that their purpose is much more bigger than education and much more bigger than just marks or the grades, I think then people might change. Even now there are lots of place to change. I mean, there's lots of scope for change, and to be honest, it's not changed yet. It's not changed much as well. And coming to the schools, we sometimes feel that the bigger schools, they might have bigger ideologies and they're different than the smaller schools, or the schools that are like very less when it comes to admission fees and etc. But it's not the case. Let it be a school, a small one, let it be a bigger one, let it be an international one, let it be a state one, whatever it is, things are not very good even now. And I think schools can actually change this narrative, change stories where people like me are hurt, people like you are hurt. We are all broken when we were in our childhoods, right? So I think if schools take actual steps right now, I think they can create and change a lot of aspects of it. And most of the children who are right now in school, they can have a healthy conversation and a happier one. They don't feel like escaping from certain things or from a certain story. I know I've said much, but then yes, I think schools should change. It's high time for schools, education institutions to change. They have to understand their purpose. It's not just marks. And let's see.
That is a very impressionable age, and then when you start teaching from a younger age itself, like you pointed the the work you were doing, getting into schools and just helping them with their mental ailments or whatever. I think that is very important. It shapes the future of the nation, if I can say that, the kind of humans you're building. Because all of us, like, look at our generation, all of us have had some trauma in our childhood. Most of us, at least, if I can say that. Like I just pointed out to mine, I've had to give up something that I really loved, that was very dear to me. I could have been a tennis player by now if I did not, face racism back in school. So all of these change a person's future or personality in such great ways that we can't, anticipate really. So that is why whatever you pointed right now, it is very important to start from school. Yeah.
And since you're doing great things as well, and I'm also doing certain good things, not as great as you, we will see how we can, collaborate further and bring a change. I'll let you know. We'll talk about it. But now, you have had certain problems, but again, you forced certain things that you were not like back then. But then you have did certain things, from school, and then of course college. I think that should be a whole together different story. So how was your transition from your school to your college? How was it?
It was good. I mean, by the end of my schooling, I think I got out of that bubble, and I started being more accepted by my social groups, friends groups, and all of that. So I was a more secure and a confident person by the time I got out of school. And the colleges that I went to, I was very well accepted. Like I was this go-to person for people because I was very empathetic. I am very empathetic as a person. So whenever people needed somebody, to talk to, somebody to hear them out, they used to come to me, and I was very friendly, very social. So like that, I think I came out of that bubble and I started focusing more on what I wanted to do, because now that tennis is also out of the way, I started focusing more on what I wanted to do and explore. Thankfully, I come from a family that does not put any pressure on me. Ki yehi bano, yehi karo. They were all like, you explore what you want, you take all the time that you need. We're not here to force you. We'll just, help you wherever you want to go. Just make sure you don't, take the wrong path. So I started exploring a lot of things. I went to Delhi post my high school. I went to Delhi I graduated in ICFI. And post my graduation, I wanted to explore the civil services part.
Interesting.
So I did a lot of things. And my parents at the time, they were like, oh, she's doing a lot of things, but what is she going to end up doing? That is more important, because I mean, apart from tennis in school, I used to give performances in arts, like I gave performances in classical dance forms, 2 of them.
Oh, you are a classical dancer?
I was.
You were, okay.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of classical dances.
Really?
Yeah, I have trauma. I have a trauma. I have a story. I'll tell you maybe after this. I had little trauma. So no, it's not like that. But I'm afraid of classical dances. I don't know. I can't stand, like, if at all there's this performance and you want me to watch, even if there are 100 people, I can't watch it. I just go out of the room.
Got it.
Yeah. Very traumatizing. I'm happy that you're not into classical dancing now.
I was. Back during schooling, I was into a lot of things. So I did Bharatnatyam, Kuchipudi performances, and also
it's very
Carnatic.
Beautiful.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
very
not that I'm afraid of it, but I also know that it's very beautiful.
Yes.
And the way you can express in those kind of art forms, I don't think you can ever express in any other art forms the way you express when it comes to dancing or when it comes to art in general.
Yes,
right.
Absolutely.
Because even in COVID, when we look about in COVID, the most consumed thing in COVID was art.
Yes.
Like when we were all busy, like when we were all stuck, we were all happy or unhappy in our own lives. The only thing everyone together started consuming was art.
Art is therapeutic.
Yeah, because it started there. Everyone were into movies. Some people, they were into cooking.
Correct.
They were exploring their, different things, yoga, all of that. And I think all of it is art. So I think people in general, we are all more of a arty people. I don't know if I can call if there's a word like that. Our go-to artsy thing when, everything, artsy. Yeah. So everything, when everything collapses, when we have nowhere to go, I think art is the only thing that comes to our rescue.
Yes.
Right. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, not at all. So where was I? Again, coming back to forgetful.
Yeah. So you're talking about you were into dancing and the college part where you were accepted. Yeah.
So I used to do a lot of things. I gave out. I gave performances in Carnatic music as well. So my parents were like, okay, she's good at what she does. She does a lot of things. but what will she end up doing? She's not like picking one.
Right.
So I'm like, now I started choosing civil services out of nowhere. So they were like, okay, go, explore. So they sent me to Delhi for a year. I went, I took my coaching from Aji Ram and Ravi. And obviously...
Oh, that's where the Hindi, is it? You're very good at Hindi. You're good at...
So my second language was Hindi.
Okay. Aata hai.
I'm pretty well versed. Haan, aata hai.
Aata hai. Okay.
So, not the Hyderabadi Hindi, proper Hindi.
Yeah, I know the proper Hindi part.
Awesome, I could say.
Yeah.
So, after 1 year in Delhi, I figured that, okay, civil services nahi ho raha hai. I mean, you should be knowing anything and everything under the sun, and that is not a piece of my cake.
Right. But so, I just want to stop with you here, because if you're really, I didn't know that you are into civil service. I mean, you did something about civil services, but I believe that anyone who has studied civil services, they pass, they fail, that's another story. But then if you have actually trained yourself for a year or two for civil services, that means you have opened up to acceptance. You have opened up to so many things around you that you never knew before.
Yes.
And I think, for me, if at all you ask me if there should be a certain thing that you would want to change in the education system, I would want everyone to actually go for UPSC training for 1 year at least.
1 year, yeah.
So that you would know the economics of a country. You would not just know about your country, the international relationships of different countries, and the kind of bond, what kind of things that goes on, and then what are the problems that the current generation is facing. Let it be warfare, let it be biological warfare, etc. etc. I think there are lots of the missiles and stuff. I think there are lots of knowledge that you can gain when you actually train.
Like history, biology, geography. There's like my majors were in psychology, so I took psychology, polity. The articles in the constitution. Anything and everything.
Right.
I mean,
and I think it basically gives you, it makes it very easier for you to understand something else.
Yes.
That when you know about everything, like little bit about everything, you can actually have a conversation. You can, further expand that. And obviously, something is better than nothing. So I think, anyone, and since you have been in UPSC, I'm sure you have lots of knowledge by yourself. I'd now ask you about maps and, country capitals. I'll give you a country and I'll ask you, tell me the capital of
right now?
Yeah.
I'm going to run away.
So how was your training? Be honest.
It was good. I mean, I went for a purpose, but I had fun exploring Delhi, making friends, trying different cuisines, and it was lovely. Like my roommate was too much into Korean drama, Korean cuisines, and all of that.
I've heard a lot about Korean things. Very up and down. I mean, I've heard the worst of worst and the best of best as well. Yeah. My own best friend is a very Korean. She watches Korean drama and all of it. They're like very Korean food, cuisine, and all of it. And then I also have some friends who are like very against them. They abuse, to be honest. They're like, this and that. I don't know. Is it that it comes out of jealousy? I am sure.
I mean, the addicts make it too much.
I know, right?
So I think that is where
the toxicity,
Exactly.
Anything, too much of anything becomes toxic.
Exactly.
I think people should understand that.
So I like Korean food, and I love Korean skincare regime, but otherwise not a very big fan of Korean drama and all. I might get haters for this.
We are going to get hate. I'm up for hate.
But nonetheless, so I explored Delhi a lot. I loved their culture. I did not like their weather, the pollution, but apart from that, I just enjoyed being there. Obviously, a lot of learning because the subjects and all of that at UPSC. So I think overall, I wouldn't regret. I would do it again, I guess. So I had fun training. I met some really amazing, really intellectual people over there. Some really smart people who I'm still
by
in
the
touch
end of
with.
the podcast, I'm sure you would go out and say that today also I met an intellectual person.
Oh yes, of course. I'd probably recommend you to try UPSC.
Really?
Yeah.
I would.
Intellectual.
There are limitations to UPSC. To be honest, I've actually given a thought about it as well. But then there are limitations to it, and I believe I can't function when there are limitations. I really can't. I believe for me, you don't give me food, shelter, clothing, I'll do it by myself, but don't take away that freedom from me. That limitation of me having a certain idea, but then you're confining your idea to a location, to a geography, and you say that this is how or this is where you can operate. Or there are many limitations, to be honest, for you. Because if I say it again, there might be little hate as well. But then there's things that's not in your control when it comes to UPSC. Let's say you become an IAS officer or an IPS officer, which are which are talked to be one of the best professions, which are the best professions today as we speak of. But at the same time, I believe they have their own downsides.
They do.
So I've done my research, and when I've looked at the downsides, I thought it's not worth it.
No.
For someone like me to get into that confinement. I can't confine myself. I can't be someone who would know that there is something wrong, and that wrong is happening because of someone, and because of some reasons I'm not able to take some action.
Yeah, and you'll be helpless because you're running on somebody's command.
Right.
Yeah, that's
so I'm okay with running on commands where people are really visionaries, where people are really good enough to actually take care of the government or the region. But then I would hate myself to be in a space where I am doing something, I'm taking or I'm considering someone who is actually good for nothing. And sadly, to be honest, I can be very blunt, but most of the leaders that we have in India are not that great.
Yes.
And I think that is why I'm studying India to be a developing country since my childhood and even today. Right, I think the government regime is such, and of course we can't complain as well, because I understand the population is great. I mean, I understand if India is still a developing country, there are reasons to it. I'm not someone who would sit here and comment on why exactly India is not a developed country anymore. It is happening, but can you tell me that the time that's been taken, is it justifiable? I say no. The things that's been happening in 5 years, it can be done in 1 year as well.
Right.
So I feel that we are developing, but at what cost? At what time? Right. To a thing that can take just 1 year of time to be completed, you're taking 3 to 4 years. And you're calling that we are developing. So I understand we are developing, but if it's coming at the cost of me not having mustache to a certain extent, to having a beard until a certain change comes out, then I don't think it's worth it. Right. So I think that's the only downside, and we are a 140 crores population. So I understand how hard it is to run the government here. I mean, it's very hard to run a country, especially when the population is this much. I'm not complaining. It's very ambiguous. We have lots of languages. We have lots of caste, lots of religion, and too many things. Like we have like too many. I think we were touted to be the continent. We are the Indian subcontinent, right? We are not even a country, we are a subcontinent. So I understand the challenges, but at the same time I believe that if you put all the goodness in yourself and with all honesty, if you work, I think we would have been a great country by now. We are doing great, but we could definitely do better.
Could have done better.
Yeah, so that's the only complaint that I have, and maybe because of that, maybe I've chosen not to get into UPSC. Yeah.
Got it.
Am I being so touchy? I've said so many things.
No, it's okay.
Right. So after UPSC, what happened?
So post UPSC, I came back, and obviously I had to change my trajectory because I couldn't, clear my first attempt. And I'm like, I'm not putting another year into this. I want to change the whole trajectory of my career. So I started working for the corporates because my goal was I always had a dream to study in ISB because it had such credibility, such a name outside.
From what age?
I think since graduation only, because whenever I passed.
You would be like 17, 18 by then?
Yes, yeah.
18, and you had a dream to go to ISB?
ISB.
At 18, my dream was to buy something that would look good on me. I'm very bad at my fashion sense.
Okay.
Very bad at it. Even now, my best friend, again, I would show her one day. Always, whichever podcast that I do, I always remember her because.
Can I wear this?
Yeah, I'll show you. Show you. I don't know. She just hates my fashion sense.
God.
She's tell I'm judging you every time I wear something and I go out.
I think I judge my best friend too.
Yeah. See.
Yeah.
We are alike. You girls are alike, maybe. I don't know. Very judgmentals. But yeah. So tell me.
Yeah, so
ISB was your dream.
ISB was my dream. Like whenever I used to pass financial district mein jab bhi jati, I used to look at the gate. I'm like, I want to study here someday. So that dream I kind of manifested. So what political party? I was associated with Mr. Jagan's party, the CM of Andhra Pradesh. So we were working in Andhra Pradesh. I was in Vijayawada, placed in Vijayawada to strategize their central campaign. From there, so I worked with him for like. Is
it why Jagan won?
He hasn't won yet. I just worked like a year ago with him.
You're talking about Jagan Mohan Reddy?
Jagan Mohan Reddy, yeah.
He hasn't won. What do you mean? He is the CM of.
He is, but I mean, I thought you were talking about the elections right now.
Oh no, I'm just.
Results.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm talking about back then.
Back then,
yeah,
okay,
I think he won, right? Back then.
Yeah. Back then he won, but I was not associated with him back then. I just worked with him like a year ago.
Oh, okay.
For him, I mean.
Yeah.
So I just worked for 3 months, not much.
Oh, okay.
Because I think I found my calling elsewhere. I will get there. But I worked there. I mean, it was great exposure, great learning. The kind of people I met a couple of MPs and MLAs and just guiding them and telling them what to do, giving
Right.
those speeches. It
Right.
comes from a place of power. I mean, I really felt
Right,
powerful.
right,
It was
right,
good,
right.
I feel empowered.
Right.
So it was good. I learned a lot of things, at least how to strategize and what goes behind the scenes of all of this political
Right.
drama, what
Right.
happens and how things are
Right.
done.
Right.
So the crux of it, I got my
Learnings.
takeaways and I left
Right.
the place.
Right.
So I mean, I really wanted to be associated with them until the elections, but I could not. Because of my health reasons as well. So I got back to Hyderabad post that after 3 months of working in Vijayawada. I mean, the weather was pathetic. I couldn't stand it.
In Vijayawada, right? It's very humid.
It's
very humid.
and
Right. Very
I
hot.
was there exactly in May. So imagine.
Right.
It was pretty pathetic. I came back, that is why.
Mm-hmm.
After coming back, again another, I think 7 to 8 months of not knowing where I was going, what I was doing, but I got back.
Mm-hmm.
So I think my parents ki galti hai. They pampered me a lot. They never said anything.
Right.
There was no pressure also ki what are you going to do. Definitely people, I've been faced with a lot of comments and insults saying ISB mein padh ke kya fayda, what are you doing now, you're just jobless, unemployed, what are you doing, you left a really high paying job and good position to come and do what, again dependent on your dad, etc. And like I heard it all. I'm like, I knew this is one
You
good
know
thing
that
about
you're going
me.
to do something because your
I
father
always
already
knew.
told, right? Your father
Yeah.
already told, do big.
Yes. I always knew that I was definitely
I know
gonna
that
do
feeling.
something.
Yeah, I can relate. Yeah.
Knew it inside.
Yeah, I mean, today you're here with me, I'm talking to you. I think this is very big for me. So
It is big
yeah.
for me too.
Yeah,
Just
so
to be
we are-
called for a podcast is very big for me. This is the first time.
right now, we are thankful that you're here. Extremely.
Oh, that's so sweet. So, yeah, I took a lot of time. I actually had dual thoughts about whether I have to start applying for jobs again. Although I figured out that it was not for me. But in my mind, I always wanted to start a business of my own and probably in the long term get into politics and my dad's footsteps, etc.
Oh, okay.
So
I'm voting for you. Let me know.
Thank you so
You
much.
seems to have you will really be a good leader. So yeah.
That means so much.
Yeah.
Thank you. So yeah, I mean, that was when. So addressing the elephant in the room, that was when I was faced with a lot of narcissism. I mean, I've been facing a lot of narcissism, be it at workplace or at ISB. I've met with a lot of
Really?
narcissists. Yes, a lot of narcissists.
Okay.
So I have that experience with narcissism, but it got extreme when I started observing around me what's happening around me. Like a couple of friends, because I was I was pretty jobless back then.
Right,
All
right.
I was doing is going out, meeting people, discussing their business ideas. That was one pastime that I really loved doing. So I found out that people were suffering a lot, especially in their relationships. A place where they have to find peace and happiness, they were not. They were
Right.
finding trauma.
Right.
So I started hearing their stories. A lot of relationships and marriages that broke because of narcissism, and some people who are still going through the trauma themselves. And then I started connecting with my stories or my experiences in the past. Then I'm like, there's not enough being spoken about. I started researching a lot. I started watching a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of Instagram reels, a lot of books that I've read, and I realized that there is conversations about it, but outside India there are people talking about it. There are coaches, narcissistic abuse coaches, and all
There
of
are.
that outside India. But within India, I wouldn't say there's null, but there are very few of them talking about it. So I thought, let's start talking about it. Let's just create an Instagram profile, because everybody's on
Right,
Instagram
right,
these days.
right.
Everything is happening there.
Right.
So I thought I'll just start a platform, start a profile, and start talking about it, and start raising awareness about it. That is it. When I started Narc Free India, it was just as an online awareness platform. That's it.
Right.
So because I knew that if I had this information in hand back then when I was facing all of this, I would definitely have gotten out of those situations way earlier than I did.
Right.
And the same with those people, my friends or relatives who've been through it. If information was readily available, if they were aware that they were dealing with narcissists, they would have gotten out of those situations, the relationships, way earlier, and saved themselves a lot of trauma.
Right.
So I started talking about it, and the kind of response that I got there, trust me, I was astonished. I did not expect that. I mean, my phone was flooded with messages, with texts, with calls. Everybody wanted to share their story with me because they were relating with everything that I was posting.
Right.
And I started getting requests for therapy. So what I did not have plans, because I would, again, I always say this and I will still say this, that NFI is not my brainchild. It is something that built up according to what people asked from me.
Right.
So people started coming to me saying, Yogitha, do you know any therapists who can help me out? This is my situation. So I used to talk to therapists and connect them. And then came an idea, why don't I actually have a group of therapists in hand, so that whenever people come to me asking for it, I can provide it. Okay. So I formed a team of therapists. And again, narcissism is not very widely known even by therapists.
Right.
A lot of people complain saying my therapist doesn't know what narcissism is. Whenever I, share my grievances,
right, they can't
with her,
relate.
They can't relate.
Because most of the time, psychology is more about cognitive behavioral therapy,
yes,
and all of
CBT,
it. And when you do not know by yourself,
right,
it just comes sound very clumsy.
Correct.
Right.
But that does a lot of harm than good. It is very dangerous, because if I go and say, okay, I've been abused.
Right.
The therapist says, okay, it's your fault. When you knew this was happening, why did you not
right,
step out of it earlier? Why did
right,
you continue to stay in that relationship?
Right.
That is very harmful. It takes a toll on the patient's
right,
health,
right,
mental health.
Right.
Because that is not how narcissism works.
Correct.
It keeps you stuck in that relationship. That is why it's called a trauma bond, right?
Right.
So
it's like the most beautiful relationship you can ever
exactly,
have, and at the same time you're burning in hell.
Exactly.
Right.
Because every now and then there's that reward system.
Right.
So you're stuck in that relationship, and when therapist itself doesn't understand where you're coming from, you start degrading yourself, and you start it's deteriorating,
right,
like your
right,
situation.
Right.
So I understood that this is not happening. So when I was onboarding my therapists or screening them for it, I was very careful. Not only do I have 8 to 10 therapists right now on the board. Not only do they understand narcissism or they're well versed with tackling such cases, they have gone through it themselves. So they understand it at a deeper level. So I have onboarded such therapists to help
right,
my clients. And then came people asking for medical consultations, because some people have taken antidepressants because of what they were going through.
Right.
Without diagnosis, without being prescribed,
right,
which is dangerous again.
Correct.
So they've been a lot of medical conditions that came up with the stress that they've been put through. So again, I immediately approached my friends who were doctors. I started onboarding medical professionals, and then very surprisingly, I had legal requests. Some people came up saying I am being tortured and threatened and followed,
right,
stalked, etc.
Right.
So I need to take legal action. Do you know any lawyers? Because your sister is a lawyer.
Correct.
So I spoke to my sister. I started forming a legal team.
Right.
And then again, I had a couple of my friends' mates complain to me saying, Amma, you do this. I am also being abused in my relationship, but I don't have the guts to step out of it because I am financially dependent on my partner. So for such people struggling to get out of the relationships because of this financial dependency, we started life skills sessions. It's life skills coachings, and obviously we have a lot of material support as well, like healing programs, phase-wise healing programs, and exit plans, and all of that. So we started working on life skills coaching, where we train these people. I mean, you and I are privileged, we are educated, we get our help, but how about these underprivileged people? They don't have the skills to get their own job. So we started designing our program in such a way that we can give out lessons about banking, earning, career counseling, financial independence, all of these. So I mean, the goal was just one thing. I would say the mission of NFI is solely to help people out of this. Like, it has to become that platform or a one-stop solution for anybody going through narcissistic abuse. Like, you come to NFI and you go back healed.
Right.
Irrespective of the amount of time you're going to take, because it takes different timelines for different people.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that is NFI's mission, and I think my personal vision has always been, if I am able to help at least one person out of that trauma, help themselves go back healed and happier, then I am sorted. That's it, because I know how that feels. I've seen people having suicidal tendencies, giving up on their life, etc. So it's pretty painful. I think that is why I've built this whole platform and a good team to support anybody going through abusive relationships.
Right.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear something like this, anyone's idea, startup, or a foundation per se, the very first answer or the very first reaction would be, wow, great, wow, you're doing such a great thing. But then very rarely comes from your heart that, wow, you're actually doing something great. So I'm really proud of you. I don't know if I can be. I'm very younger to you. Yeah, I'm like 16. I'm kidding, I'm not. So
I'm sure you are.
Yeah, so I'm just telling you that, what you're doing, and I'm just lighting up the situation. But then I really believe that it was a call, it is needed. And most of them, they do not even know that they are in one, in a relationship or in any kind of relationship where, there's this abuse, narcissistic abuse.
Yeah.
And for them, making a platform to first, start spreading the awareness, and then making sure you're taking a notch up, and then making sure that you also give certain careers, counseling to people who have gone through it.
Yeah.
And then from there, taking up the legal space as well. And now giving life skills, sessions where people can actually get into employment as well. Because most of the times, the problem with India, one of the biggest problem in India is still unemployment, right?
Oh, yes.
And then the things that I've created, I think perfectly resonates with what your father told. Think big, right? You have started very small, but then, that's how every idea flourishes.
It does.
You just have to start. That's the only cue for you.
Yes.
Like once you started, things get built up.
Yes.
But since I want to take this leverage and I want to deep down into this much more, since you have mentioned that you have personally, seen or, you have been in the vicinity of people who were narcissist by nature, and unfortunately, I also understand, there are certain reasons why they become like that.
Yeah.
But then I want to understand, how does it actually feel like? How can someone recognize that they are into this abusive relationship?
Got it. So, there's this kind of helplessness. Things are not under your control. You start recognizing that you are not comfortable first. And this is not me. Why am I, why am I surrendering myself to situations and people that don't make me comfortable? You start belittling yourself. You start thinking very low of yourself. Your confidence goes down. Your self-esteem goes down. And you feel toxic in such situations, because what narcissists do to you is they play with your mind. They start with love bombing. Like, when it comes to romantic relationships, it's love bombing. But otherwise also there's this reward system. They make you feel on top of the world. And it's always like you're walking on breadcrumbs, They give it and they take it back, making you long for it again.
Right.
So even when you torture them, they would still take it or be okay with it. They would tolerate it
because there is a higher reward in the future.
Exactly, because again they know you're going to give them a reward, so they wait for that rush, that adrenaline rush or whatever.
Right.
But the amount of stress that they put you through, because they take your respect away, they don't respect you, they belittle you, they lie a lot, they cheat on you. If it's a relationship, they cheat on you, they take your dignity away, because for themselves they are this grandiose sense of self that they have. They are the highest, like there's nobody above them. And that really very bad levels of entitlement, that feeling of entitlement, and that need for validation that they have, you have to constantly keep feeding them, feeding their ego. So taking all of this, you know that you're not in the right place. I think if you listen to your conscience, it will tell you that
it's always there. I think for any kind of relationship which is going wrong, your gut, your instinct, they tell you. They tell you. It's just that we don't listen to them.
Correct.
Very honestly.
Yeah.
And I think for these kind of abuse, the very first thing that someone has to do is maintain that boundary.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But then unfortunately, that boundary sometimes is not that great, or we are unable to create that boundary. And I'm sure that all of the victims who have gone through these kind of things, the only problem is they wouldn't know that how exactly they can put this boundary, because there are very few people that you're allowed to actually cross those boundaries. And when you have actually allowed someone by yourself, because narcissists, you give them the power.
Yes.
They never take it from you.
Yeah.
It's in any kind of relationship, it's always about whether you want someone in your life or not, or whether you are giving that power to someone or not.
Yeah.
So with narcissists, they are very good at taking the power and never giving it back to you.
Exactly.
Right.
Surrender yourself.
Right.
To them.
So the problem is, first things first, the boundary system.
Yeah.
And I believe everywhere in the world, there are very few people who are very good with boundaries.
Boundary setting.
Right.
Yeah.
It's very hard for people to actually have those kind of settings. And but I believe, the work that you're doing, I'm sure they would understand the boundary setting part. And this is just a very small part that I've just mentioned. There are lots of things to it. And you just can't sit here and talk about someone's life who have gone through this abuse. And you just can't say that these were the problems. Because no matter what you say, how much ever you say, back then, once they're back home, they're again to the same situation. And the only way you can come out of it is taking therapy, not just 1, 2, but planning a proper sessions for you, like properly planning everything for you. Without that, I don't think you can ever get out of it.
No.
And when you would actually get out of it, it would be already too late. And why would you waste, or why would you, take this life in vain when there are lots of people out there who really deserve you, who really know how to take care of you, of your body, of your family, and lots of other stuff as well, right? So I think this is the right time, since everything is booming and everything is digital. I really hope people know this, more and more people know this. And since you want to be the one-stop solution for all of it, I really wish that it happens very soon, and it should happen very soon as well. I'm not even telling you that in the future I wish you success and all of it. I want it right now because I have known people who are going through this. Of course, I have never been, or I have never seen someone like that, but then I've known people who have gone through this, and they would constantly call you.
Correct.
They are calling you today, tomorrow, but when that person shows up, they forget you again.
They forget you, yeah.
Right, because they're inclined. They know that something is wrong, but then they would again incline, and it's very psychological phenomena, and it's very hard to even put it. That to even imagine that someone can come out of it, it's very hard, it's tough, and they have to do lots of rewiring, because as we grow, what happens, Yogitha, is we develop certain neurons in our brain, right? And then when those neurons are born or created, when there is a trauma associated to it, it never goes away. It stays there for a longer period of time, and it constantly reminds you of what happened in your past. It constantly works on it, because brain is such a thing that whatever you want to forget, it never forgets. Whatever it wants to remember, like our exams, it doesn't remember, right? So I think it's high time, and I'm really thankful that someone like you is doing, and I know that the foundation is in the right hands. All right, because sometimes we do certain things, but we might not be able to actually maneuver through it. But then you know how to maneuver. You have the right guidance as of now. I believe you have the right resources. Your father, his I'm sure, since he's in politics, I understand the resilience that any politician would have in the current geographical situation that we are in. So I believe that you have that. So I don't know, sky is the limit. Please do as much as you can, and let's see it. And don't give up on this. Please,
not at all.
Continue doing it.
We have really big plans for NFI, to be honest. Like you mentioned about going into schools and all, because that is the right time when you have to teach kids about being aware, the symptoms, the characteristics. I think if you teach them at such impressionable ages, they can smell a narcissist from a distance, and they will be careful.
Right.
So we have plans of getting into schools, universities, and also hopefully if we can get there into the corporates, because there's a lot of narcissism in the workplace as well. So we
2 out of 10 managers are narcissists. I know that I shouldn't be saying this, but this is the truth.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, in fact.
And they favor the employees who are very good to them.
Right.
And the employees
serve
are
their
not.
purpose.
Oh my God, the employee can't wait to actually come out of it.
Exactly.
To out of that office. And most of the employees that actually resign from those kind of corporates, I think it's because of these kind of behavior. And it's just that you're not even aware that you are doing this. Sometimes you're not even aware, and I think awareness is one thing, and I believe completely that for a world to change, dialogue is very important. I don't of course violence is needed when there is extremist things going on. You definitely have to tackle violence with violence sometimes, not always. But at the same time, I believe that without dialogue, a world cannot function. So I really believe in dialogue, and the more the dialogue, I think the better the society would be. So all the best for that.
Thank you so much.
Now that I've known about all of this, I just want to understand what are your future goals from here on. So what's the future for your foundation as well as
So the future for NFI, it's Oh, it's a lot, but I'll start by saying we plan to get into schools, into colleges, universities, do some workshops and be associated with them so that we can do these regular, awareness talks and also take up cases if we can. And the corporates is a huge space for us again to give out life skill sessions and all of that. And for NFI, just going into spaces, penetrating all the markets and spaces and all of that, and getting the help that people might need. They must not know, because I feel there's not enough awareness. I think if I tackle that, there will definitely be a lot of people approaching me for help. I mean, the lack of awareness is
them actually
problem.
Noticing them actually
the lack
because
of awareness
most of the
is a
times they
bigger
do
problem.
not know, right? Because most of the times they do not know that
they don't know
going through certain things.
Correct.
Right.
I mean, they're conditioned to normalize what they're in. They're not ready to accept it. It starts from acceptance, right? So that is our first goal, and then short-term goal is this. Long-term, hopefully get into a lot of research aspects of this, why it happens, if NPD, narcissistic personality disorder, can be cured, etc. So going into deeper sciences of
it. Is it curable? Like, what are the researches that it's not?
I mean, from what I've read, because I'm no expert, from what I've read, it's not curable, because sometimes it's genetic and sometimes it how does a person usually develop their personalities? It's the same with this person. Through your childhood experiences, etc. That is how you develop these senses, the personality. So it's usually, after a certain point of after a certain age, you cannot go back and unwire yourself and become a completely different personality. Right. So it's the same with NPD. You cannot cure it for sure. It's hard for narcissists to even admit or accept that there's something wrong with them, and they might need therapy. If narcissists would be able to accept it and go for therapy, all of us would need therapy.
Long way, I know.
Long way, yeah. So it's not curable for sure, which is why all the victims and survivors have to go get their therapy. To draw their boundaries and just to stay away.
So that's professional for you, but what's personal for you? Like, what do you want to do from here on? What are your dreams, your goals?
So like I mentioned earlier, I would like to get into politics, follow in my dad's footsteps. That has always been there.
I'll be your marketing strategist. Tell me. I'll write campaigns for you, like do this and do that. So all through growing up, I realized that I always liked being in the social space, serving people with the community, and also into the political space. I like having just being in a state of power. So I would definitely, the long-term vision would be getting into politics and serving the people. It's just very surreal to hear from you that you would like that place of power, because I can understand the aura is coming now. Right.
So that, and
when you're capable, when you know what's right, what's wrong, why not? That's the only thing, and I'm sure you'll do great at that as well.
Thank you so much. So that, and I also have another, I'm working alongside one of my ISB mates on a startup, on a product startup. So hopefully that will, flourish and go as per plan as well.
Alright. Perfect.
So these are my, probably, actually the product startup would be called a short-term goal. But politics is the long-term goal always. So one thing that we do with our guests whenever they come visit us, we ask this main question. The whole concept of our podcast is, what is life according to you? Like, what's your perspective on life? So since you have grown to a certain age and you have had your own experiences, I want to understand, what's life for you? Life is firstly very unpredictable, but life is what you make of it, I feel.
Wow.
It has always been like that. Because very recently I started, believing in affirmations, manifestation. I've become a, spiritual person lately. So out of all of this, I think that is my answer to your question. It is what you make of it, trust me. If you think it is difficult, it is going to be difficult. If you think it is going to be great, then trust me,
you will work for making it great.
You will work towards it, and you will keep manifesting it. Your thoughts are your magnets, right? You talk to the universe. I believe in all of this. I don't know how many of you do, but so It is what you make of it, trust me.
Tell me about your spiritual journey.
I just started it. It's not much of a journey, but I think I started believing in a higher
Presence.
entity or
Okay.
presence. And I started communicating. I started talking a lot. I write a lot. Whenever I'm low, whenever I feel low, whenever I want to, do something, but it is not manifesting itself.
Right.
So I write and I talk to him,
Right.
her, whatever.
Right.
So that is how I think whenever I don't feel like things are going well, I go to a temple and I sit there. I feel peaceful.
Right.
I feel I'm surrounded with that divine, presence and power, that I'm feeling protected.
Right.
A feeling of being protected and all of that. So I think I am just in that stage for now. There's a long way to go.
Right. For me, of course, not that, do you believe in God or not? Not that. But for me, spirituality is always have been about reconnecting with yourself. Just the way you mentioned that I talk to myself, or I talk to him or her.
Yeah.
I think when you do that, you're basically talking to yourself.
Correct.
You're basically reaffirming what you want to do, what you don't want to do. You have your own confusions, your doubts, and probably the answer is also you. To be honest. So I think spirituality comes down to actually reconnecting with yourself in this busy world.
Correct.
Right. I mean, you're so much busy sometimes, and then there are hardly very few times when you talk to yourself about your successes or about your failures, right? You don't get that time. You're occupied with your friends, you're occupied with your family, and you're occupied with your work, let it be a startup or a foundation. And I think after or the end of the day, after once your day has ended and you have your own time finally, and you're reaffirming, thinking that there's something that's going to help you, and you are talking to yourself, right? I think that certainly gives you a power to actually plan your next day, plan your next move, do something, be empowered. And I think that's what spirituality is for me.
Absolutely.
To take that time from this busy world to talk to myself, understand myself. And no matter what kind of experience you get, Yogitha, you would never learn from it.
True.
Until and unless you know how to put it into words. So let's say you have gone through an experience, and I tell me how was that experience, or what was the problem that you faced. Until and unless you're not there yet where you can tell me or explain me what exactly you've gone through, I don't think you'll ever learn.
True.
We generally listen to people, right? They say you learn from your experiences. But I believe that you learn from your experiences only when you're willing to learn from those experiences.
Correct,
you have to sit with your experiences and understand, work on it, and then put it into words. You can write it out, or you can tell someone orally as well. What I do is, whenever I've had, of course, we all have our own lives, and we are not all sane. Sometimes we do mistakes. Sometimes we are part of a certain thing that we are not very proud of as well. But then I think when I go back, sit, and I jot down all those experiences, and when I understand, oh, this was the problem, and when I can say that problem to someone, 2 years back this happened to me. Do you know why it happened? It happened because of this. Because of then I was not open to those kind of conversations. I was not open enough. I did not know what was that conversation about. And right now I know, so I'm happy now. Because when I tell that to someone, I actually heal myself.
That's
I go to the past.
Right. Everything starts with acceptance, I feel.
Correct.
Only when you accept that something happened will your growth or transformation or anything happens.
It's just like to be fit, you have to go to the gym. But if you're going to the gym and not working out, and just sitting on the bench, chair, or on the treadmill without walking or running, I think you don't get transformed. So it's not just about buying that membership, you also have to go work for it.
Correct.
Only then your experience can come. If not, no matter what kind of experience you have, you'll never grow until unless you're actually working on it. Perfect. So I think the way that you're going, I'm sure that's a long way, and you're going to do wonders. And all the best for all of it.
Thank you so much.
And I'll have an eye on you, and there are lots of things that I want to discuss with you as well. Maybe after the podcast, maybe we'll figure out a day. We'll just sit and we'll talk. There are lots of things that I have in my mind that we can work out on.
For sure.
All right then. So that's it for the podcast, Yogitha, and it was great talking to you. But before we leave, we'll play a small game. Since we talk about impact, you are into impact, I'm into impact. What we'll do is, together we'll create some more impact, but onto the philanthropy space. What we'll do is, we'll play a small game, and whoever loses the game, they'll have to perform a dare. and that's philanthropic there. I won't ask you to dance and all. Yeah.
Yeah, lovely.
Are you you are a dancer?
I
right?
am a
Oh,
dancer,
Yeah, I know,
yeah.
right? But yeah.
I
so
know you're not, so I don't have that
Yeah.
risk of you asking me to do it.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll play a small game, and we'll have to perform a philanthropy day wherein whoever loses would have to volunteer some time in a government school, share their knowledge or feed underprivileged children, something like that, right?
Yeah.
So we'll play a game, and the game is a blinking game because that's the only game that I know that we can play off and that can be settled very soon, right?
Okay.
So you look into my eyes, I look into oh, this is very romantic. I know it's not very romantic. You're playing
Not
a
a
game
setting.
here. We are playing a game here. So okay, so we'll have to do that. Whoever blinks first loses.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
You really couldn't think of a better game.
I know, right? I know.
You
I thought no, we did not start.
We didn't
I'll
start?
tell you.
Okay, I was really trying hard there,
No.
Dev.
Oh no, you were start. Oh
I
no.
started
no,
already.
wait. Yeah, so I'll tell you when to start and then we'll start.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So shall we?
Yeah, I can
All
get
the
pretty competitive there.
You please, you have to be. I want you to be. But then I'll tell you, no, I've never lost this game.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So.
I think I should blink as much as I can right now.
Yeah, you should.
All right.
3, 2, 1.
I think that is why you play this game, right?
No. Oh shit. I think I'm losing.
Are you? Oh god.
I really am going to lose. I lost.
You lost.
Yeah, I did.
See, I told you I could get competitive.
This is how I lose, but I'll edit this section. I'm not going to put it out there because I lost. No, I'm kidding. All right. So here there are 1 to 4, right? And I don't know what's written. It's written by the team. So
Okay.
I'll choose any random number from 1 to 4, and whatever is written, I'll be doing that for you.
Okay.
Right? So we'll both have to go to a place, and then whatever that dare is, we'll have to perform. All right?
Perfect.
And I'll perform in the preview of you so that you know that I've did it. All right?
Sure.
Perfect. You can take the placard.
Okay.
Yeah. So 1
Do
to 4.
I-
No. I'll choose a number.
Oh, okay, lovely. Okay.
I choose number 1.
So number 1 is volunteer your time in a government school.
All right. Do you know why I chose number 1? Because I'm born on December 1st. So I always pick number 1. Always.
Always 1.
Yeah, always.
The next
Okay.
time you have someone on the show, maybe.
Yeah. So what's
I'm sure you've done all of this, right?
Yeah, we have done it. What's the first one again? Volunteering.
Volunteer your time in a government school.
All right. So next time we meet, me and Yogitha, we will be volunteering our time in a government school, and probably
Yes.
will teach kids how to be kids. These days, kids are not being kids. They're like
Yeah.
fathers, and I don't know.
They're
like,
adults.
yeah, they're adults. They're like, oh, this and that. All right.
Yeah.
All right, then Yogitha, thank you. It
Thank
was
you so
great
much for
talking to you.
having me there.
All right.
Lovely talking to you.
Thank you. So
Lots of learnings.
Yeah. Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.